At the moment, there's 24 stations on the iHeartRadio platform. So we've got the stations like 4ZZZ in Brisbane, Hope in Sydney, FBI, 2SER. We've got PBS in Melbourne. We've got Tamworth, 88.9. Curtin, Territory FM up in Northern Territory. Yeah, so the stations represent community radio right across the country. It's very exciting.
How's it going so far? Is it successful?
It's been great. So we've just had our first quarter on iHeartRadio, and the listening hours are pretty good. Don't quote me because I don't have them off by hand, but iHeart is happy and is happy where community radio is sitting at this present stage. I've got to say iHeart's been so helpful, the team there, to get community radio up. I think the big wins for community radio have been actually now being found on smart speakers for these stations. I know, Steve, you did a report on the CBF on YouTube, and at that stage in May, finding public and community radio on Amazon and Google is quite difficult. But the stations can be found by not saying, okay, Google on iHeart. You just have to say, hey Google, play PBS, and it's playing. So that's really exciting. The other win is that there's dynamic data being shown through iHeart for some stations that don't have playout systems. That was an unexpected win for those guys. Also, being found on mobile devices when you're outside of the FM signal has been a really big win for stations as well. So yeah.
What have you learnt about audience habits?
Audience habits. Well, in doing the research, we've discovered, I guess we could show, NPR did a great research document with Edison, and they found that in a typical week, you're doing house chores, listening to music, also cooking, and I think, Steve, you mentioned the great innovations that you can have listening to a recipe as you cook, and it's timed to allow you to do all the recipe at the same time. So that's popular. Getting ready for your day, of course, again, the setting up of routines, and I know, again, referenced through your website and your YouTube, the fact that you can set a breakfast routine, which is like breakfast radio, news, weather, traffic, a podcast, so that's really cool. And then browsing the internet.
You have another slide as well.
Okay.
So the benefits?
So the benefits for community radio is that, they're reaching new listeners, but most of all, they're reaching their listeners who, maybe use iHeart. Maybe the station doesn't have an app, so iHeart provides a great place for them to hear their stream on the go. So being heard everywhere is a great bonus, and being on iHeart at the moment, if there's a new device that needs to be played on, like HomePod by Apple, iHeart with TuneIn are like 2 of 3 station also aggregators that are only found on Apple products now. Also, in-app messaging and message centers, stations are really taking advantage of that for membership drives. So 4ZZZ, FBI, 2SER are using it to reach out directly to listeners on iHeart who are listening to their stations to maybe consider membership. But you could use it for anything. So that's in-app messaging and message center. And the ability to communicate directly with those listeners is great.
Thanks a lot.
Cool.